Hamya is Multichoice General Manager. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
When we were getting into 2000, there was that, catchphrase of Y2K compliant. Right about now, it seems to be digital migration compliant.
Correct. Yeah.
So tell me, how are we coping with this, especially the market out there? Are people beginning to catch up? Are they beginning to be compliant, or is it still a challenge?
Thank you very much. I think from where I sit, there's three legs to the migration. There's the government, there are the operators, and then the consumer. So as far as government is concerned, I think they're ready for the migration. And in fact, last week on Monday, we switched off Kampala, or they switched off Kampala. The free-to-air channels, where they had a mixed feeling. Some of them were saying we're ready to go digital migration, others were not ready. And of course, the consumer, as far as we're concerned, what they need to do is to buy a set-top box to be able to convert their analog TVs to digital. So we're starting to see a lot of traction. There are quite a number of people that had digital set-top boxes in their houses. Those are starting to resuscitate those boxes so that they can continue receiving their TV signals. And of course, we're getting quite a number of new entrants coming in, purchasing set-top boxes. So on the whole, I think the migration is real. The general public is responding positively, and we're happy with what we're seeing on the market.
You're happy with what you're seeing on the market, and you say the general public is responding positively. But there's many out there that say, look, we're not ready for this. It's still a tricky one. These set-top boxes are very expensive. When you look at, when you try and compare it to what the average Ugandan does, and it's just a total mismatch. And then, of course, the pay TV ones like yourselves are a little bit higher and the like. And so many feel, look, we're not exactly ready for this. We needed to do a little bit more, advancement to try and help people understand what this is about, why they need it, etc., etc. You hear that talk. What's your take on it?
I think the migration is not something that has happened overnight. The decision for Uganda to migrate, I think, was taken in 2006. And between 2006 and today, I think there's been a lot of work that has been done by government, that has been done by operators like ourselves. So it is not something that is taking the general public by, I think, on a very short notice. The UCC, together with the UBC, have run a number of campaigns, awareness campaigns to sensitize TV viewers about the migration. So that has been ongoing for the last, I think, 3-4 years. We as Multichoice have also been at the forefront of ensuring that our prospective clients understand what the migration is all about. So I don't think it's on short notice. And in fact, for all those that we're selling to today, they seem to be fully aware of what is happening. And I think you also must understand that this is a changing technology. And a changing technology doesn't wait for the consumer. The consumer has to adapt to the new technology.
Maybe to help people understand really why this is very important, because they'll say, look, I am going to buy a set-top box at 100,000 or whatever the price might be, and I'm going to get the same TV stations that I was able to get previously and so on. What's the difference? Why is this so important a thing? Because I don't think that has been concretized well down there.
I think what we're experiencing in Uganda is not any different from what is happening around other countries across the continent. In 2006, the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, of which Uganda is a member, made a decision that countries must move from analog to digital. And the whole rationale behind that was to ensure that there is efficient management of the spectrum. What I mean by that is that, for example, in the TV industry, we've had quite a number of independent players, like WBS, NTV, and so forth. And each of them use a frequency to be able to broadcast their programs. What the migration does is that where you've had 11 or 14 players using an independent frequency, all of them are going to be using one frequency, and that will free up all the other frequencies. So it means from a regulatory, from a spectrum management point of view, you're now utilizing the spectrum much more efficiently. It means that you can now open up the spectrum for other services. If you look at the telecommunication industry, they're looking at introducing 4G networks. They're looking at introducing LTE, and that is what is going to happen once the migration is fully realized. From a consumer point of view, of course, the quality of the channels is much more superior. So it's crisp, the sound is clear. The consumers should be able to get more content as a result of the migration. So those are some of the benefits that accrue from countries having to migrate from analog to digital. And I think the viewers must understand that it's not only Uganda migrating, it is the entire world that is migrating.
Look, many Ugandan out there are penurious. Money is hard to come by in this country. In fact, the GDP per capita is still way below 1,000 US dollars, even though we are talking about, moving to a middle income country. That is still a far reach. Not that it's impossible. I think we can attain that. But that's where the challenge is. Money, because you see, as of now, I think the last I checked, the cheapest set-top box is about what, 115,000, 125. You can bring us up to speed with that. And that's for the one-off payment. And then for the pay TV, like yourselves, it's a little bit higher. It could be lower than the set-top box at initial purchase, but you see, on a monthly basis, you've got to keep, reinstating this for you to keep getting the signals. And that's the challenge there still is. Looking at this Ugandan market and the affordability, it's a challenge. How do we go about that?
I think
do you hope to maybe at some point lessen the prices or that kind of thing?
I think as Multichoice, we've done a lot in as far as supporting the migration process is concerned. And we're working hand in hand with the government to make sure that the country realizes a full migration. We brought down the cost of the set-top box, as you know. Ideally, a set-top box should cost in the region of 180,000, 200,000 shillings, Uganda shillings. We're currently selling our decoder at 60,000 shillings.
That's the one-off paid one?
That is because the two segments of the market, there is the free-to-air and the pay TV. So we as pay TV has made a decision. We have made a decision to sell the decoder at 60,000. So we're subsidizing the decoder in the hope that we can recover from the monthly subscriptions
yes, sure.
that our subscribers would be remitting to us. The other leg is the free-to-air decoder. We also make.
Do you sell those too?
We do.
All right.
We have gone into partnership with Signet, which is a technical arm of UBC, and we're making available decoders. So that kind of decoder or type of decoder, when one buys it, you don't have to pay subscription again. So that goes for 125,000 shillings. And that is the cheapest decoder you can find on the market. So those are some of the things that we're doing to support government, to also support the normal Ugandan, the ordinary Ugandan on the street to realize the migration.
125,000 shillings. I'll tell you, there's many Ugandans that actually don't earn that in a year. I'm sure you are aware of that. And so many will think, wait a minute, are we not on a head-banging project here? We seem to be running into a brick wall because 125,000 shillings, even though it's a one-off payment, it's still a far reach for many a family out there. So that means that we are going to have many on a blackout of sorts, an information blackout for too long a while.
I don't think so. I think this is a process. There is a school of thought that if one can afford to buy a television set, and I think the law...
Which they probably bought, what, 10 years or so ago?
I don't know, but if you can afford to buy a TV set, then chances are you would be able to afford a set-top box. And remember, a set-top box is a transitional device, because currently we don't have enough digital TV sets on the market. But I think as we go through this migration process, manufacturers will cease to produce analog TVs, and they'll start producing TVs with digital tuners. So a set-top box for the free-to-air market is transitional. It is not something that will be around for a long time.
Government has said they're in talks with pay TV companies like yourselves and others to try and see how that the price is lessened to, I don't know, about 30,000 shillings. We had the Honorable Nyombi Tembo say. How far are those talks? Because that sounded like music to many a Ugandan out there. 30,000 shillings? That's plausible if you juxtapose it against 125,000 shillings. So what's the progress with that?
Well, we're in partnership with government, as I indicated to you earlier on. We are providing the most affordable free-to-air set-top box. What we, I think the discussions we had with the government and the regulator and the free-to-air operators was to find a way of coming up with specifications for the decoder that will bring down its cost. And I think that is the work that is being done behind the scenes between government and the operators to find a much more affordable decoder. But I can tell you that we, on the pay TV side, we have a very affordable set-top box going for 60,000 shillings. And we're just asking the general public to embrace our products. We've got 3 bouquets. We've got 2 bouquets where you have to pay a monthly subscription, and then 1 bouquet where you pay an annual fee, which is about 66,000 shillings. So once you pay that fee per annum, you'll be able to receive the free-to-air channels in addition to some of the pay channels that we put on that package.
Look, when I look at the Ugandan market and compare it to other countries, you know, there's countries that have said no. Nigeria, for example, South Africa, they've dug in their heels and said, look, this digital migration thing, no, we're going to do our own thing. And it's business as usual for them. Well, they're trying to see how they tweak it, but to their own kind of palatability, if you like. And so many are saying, look, as Uganda, if you know this is proving to be a tall order, what's the impossibility of going that direction?
I cannot speak on behalf of South Africa or Nigeria. Our position, I think, in terms of Uganda, in terms of East Africa, we believe we're ready. In fact, the migration has happened. In East Africa, Kenya migrated 3 months ago. Rwanda did it last year. Tanzania did it 2 years ago. And the missing middle, the missing piece has always been Uganda. And that is why...
Burundi.
And perhaps Burundi. But Uganda, I mean, if you look at the history of television, we were the first country in East Africa to introduce television. And it is unfortunate that we're being the last to migrate. But I'm glad that it has happened. I'm glad that the government is supportive of the process. And I encourage the general public to embrace the change, because it's real and I don't see government reversing that.
Talking about that very factor, because you see, we've seen this one too many times where people will dawdle over a deadline such as this. You saw it for SIM card registration, IDs, etc., etc., and government kept pushing this. And so people have gotten used to that comfort of, you know what, this, we know how this government operates. They'll keep pushing it, you know, so they will slow down, they will lollygag over things that they should do like this. And they're very hopeful and optimistic that, look, this is going to be extended. And then there's many out there that are chilling and they're so sure about this.
Well, what I can say is that we, as a pay TV operator, have seen an opportunity. I'm sure the free-to-air stations have also seen the opportunity. So we've continuously engaged government. We've engaged UBC. We've engaged even the free-to-air stations. And the consensus is we have to move on. We are at a point of no return. So the first phase happened on the 15th. We've been given a roadmap by Signet and UCC. They have indicated that on the 31st of July, they will switch off another 7 towns. And then the 31st of August, they will switch on another 10 towns. And in that manner, the whole country would have migrated. But I think you must understand that the migration, whatever we do in Uganda, impacts on the other countries. So countries like Rwanda and Kenya cannot, for example, introduce some of the services that were anticipated when the migration happens, because Uganda hasn't migrated. And that is why it is important that Uganda moves along as a bloc to make sure that we are working as East Africa and not necessarily as just one country.
And maybe finally, as we wrap this up, look, there's been concern, especially from parents, that what pay TV companies like yourselves, well, you don't produce these programs, but you disseminate them out there. Some of them are rather interesting and not positively so. You know, because you see, they've got families, they've got children that are surely becoming iniquitous as they watch some of these programs that are not good. And you have had these engagements with them at some points of trying either to talk to the people that you get these signals from, and then eventually you air to try and change this. How does this change? Because you see, TV should be good, you know, for all intents and purposes, disseminate information, educate, entertain, etc., etc. But much of the time we see the reverse of it, and that is why, you know, we have young people that are into debauchery, and some of them, the alibi is TV. That's where they got it from.
Well, I cannot speak for other TV stations, but what I can tell you is that we operate as Multichoice in a global space, and we try to make sure that we cater for those kinds of challenges that parents have. So we have what we call a parental control facility on the decoder. We rate movies, so you can actually tune or configure your decoder to block off those channels. And those are some of the things that we put in place to make sure that the right people watch the right programs. And all these programs are rated. So before the program plays out, the PG parental guidance notice would play out on the screen. And of course, if you've set up the control on your decoder, then if a movie is for, say, 18 years old and above, and somebody is 13 years, they wouldn't watch it because it would be blocked off. You would have to enter PIN to unblock the movie.
All right, Charles Hamya, General Manager, Multichoice, thanks for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Coming up is My Opinion. I think as a country we need to get used to certain, modes of metamorphosis. Digital migration is upon us, and we need to slowly but surely embrace it. Yes, there are challenges, the set-top boxes, the prices are through the roof, and this is something those that are selling them in conjunction with government and the others can find some kind of remedy to. But I think it's important that we begin to move slowly but surely and get to grips with the rest of everybody. Gone are the days when, we operate back like as if we are in 19 Daniel. There's people, for example, who still believe Idi Amin is Uganda's president, so that goes to show that as a country we still have a challenge that we are grappling with on our hands. So let's see how we embrace digital migration, and let's see how especially these set-top boxes get lessened. The Honorable Minister for ICT the other day, Honorable Nyomi Tembo, was saying, look, we are in talk to try and see how we lessen them. I hope you can do that, because you see 125,000 shillings for an ordinary family out there that struggles to put food on their tables, that struggles to take children to school, and you ask them for 125,000 shillings. Yes, it's the cheapest that DSTV does have. The others are a lot more expensive, but it is still stupendous. Can we bring it down? I think we should. That's the big story for this morning. Thanks a bunch for joining us. Coming up in a bit is Everyday Life.